एक सेल्फ इंट्रोडक्शन दीजिए श्वेतांक।
My name is Swetank Srivastav. I have done my schooling from my native place Gorakhpur. After completion of that, I went to Pune University where I completed my BSL LLB degree, and after that, I went for pursuing my master degree, which I completed from MIT University, Lucknow.
लॉ में आपसे मैं पहला क्वेश्चन पूछ रहा हूँ कि पब्लिक इंटरेस्ट लिटिगेशन के बारे में आप क्या जानते हैं?
Public interest litigation, there is a one rule, locus standi, which had been realized in public interest litigation. The first time this word has been used by Justice Krishnan Iyer and Justice S.N. Bhagavati, which says that a person who does not have any financial resources to come in the court of law, or a person who is deprived by any kind of thing, then any person or any section of the society on behalf of that particular person or society can file a case in the court of law. In the case of PIA, locus standi has been relaxed.
एक एब्सोल्यूट लायबिलिटी का रूल हम लोग पढ़ते हैं, ये क्या है एब्सोल्यूट लायबिलिटी?
Absolute liability rule means there is no escape of giving away from anything. Means for example, in strict liability, there are some exceptions where you can ignore from the punishment, where you can ignore the damages. But in absolute liability, if you care, your due care has been taken, every due diligence has been taken, but if harm had been done or injury had been done to any property or any person, then you will be liable for your consequences. In Bhopal gas case, after Bhopal gas case,
स्ट्रिक्ट लायबिलिटी रूल से ये अलग कैसे?
Exception. In strict liability, there is a scope for giving away or taking away from the punishment. But in the case of absolute liability, there is no exception. There is no act of God. There is no defense available in case of absolute liability. You will be liable for the consequence, whatever. No defense can be taken in absolute liability. Whereas strict liability, there is a scope for getting away from the punishment.
इंजंक्शन की मीनिंग क्या होती है?
Injunction means when injunction order given by the court, it means that to do something which you are required to do or abstain from doing something which you're not required to do. It is a stay order which is given by the court for a particular person in respect of any property, to not to damage a particular property, not to destroy any property, or resisting from doing something. This is the injunction.
प्रोहिबिटरी इंजंक्शन का कोई एक एग्जांपल बता दीजिए.
For example, prohibitory means prohibit something. You are requested to not to do something. For example, section 133 in CRPC, a conditional order has been placed by the magistrate not to explore or export any kind of drugs abusing. You are not allowed to do something on public road. You are not allowed to sell a particular kind of drug in a market. You are prohibited to doing these kind of things which can harm to the public or property as well. Means prohibit something, not allowed to do anything. For it can be for environment protection, it can be related to anything.
Doctrine of Cyprus. What is the meaning of Cyprus?
Doctrine of Cyprus has been given in Transfer of Property Act in section 26. I'm not able to recall right now whatever the right section is, but I think section 26 of Transfer of Property Act deal with Doctrine of Cyprus, in which a condition, if a person want to transfer a property, certain condition has been imposed by that particular person which has to be fulfilled to complete the transfer. And after fulfillment of that particular condition, the transfer will become complete. For example, A want to transfer a property to B and said that in regard, I'll give you the 500 rupees after if you marry to someone, some C or some C with the consent of C. If he fulfill the condition, if he obtain the consent of C and marry to that particular person, then he will be able for granting 500 rupees. This is the doctrine of Cyprus.
फोरक्लोजर का राइट होता है मॉर्गेज
Yes.
में, किसी पार्टी के फोरक्लोजर का राइट, क्या है ये फोरक्लोजर का राइट?
Right to foreclosure means once a mortgage, always a mortgage. That is a exception. This is the exception to that particular rule. In right to foreclosure, mortgagee go to the court of law and take an order from the court that the mortgager had restrained from obtaining the property of mortgage property. In right to foreclosure, when granted to the mortgagee, then the mortgager had no right to claim that particular property. This is the protection which is given to the mortgagee, which has been defined under section 67 of the Transfer of Property Act.
तो फोरक्लोजर का राइट कौन से प्रकार के मॉर्गेज में होता है? सारे में होता है या कुछ हैं रेस्ट्रिक्टेड हैं?
Sir, there
कुछ
are
में ही होता है?
no, sir. It is for I'm not able to recall right now, but I think there are two type of mortgage in which right of foreclosure is granted. One is for conditional sale, and one is for, I think, I am able to recall right it now, sir.
Anomalous mortgage. Anomalous mortgage.
Pardon, sir? Anomalous mortgage.
Anomalous mortgage.
Okay, fine, sir.
What is the meaning of redeem up and foreclose down?
Redeem up means in the for example, everyone has a right to redeem their property. Redeem up means in the shoes of mortgager, and someone else has taken that particular right to release their property which has been mortgaged. For example, I have an interest in that particular property, or I am representing in the property. Then in the name of mortgager, I obtain the right to redeem that particular property which has been mortgaged to the mortgagee. And foreclosure I have already explained to you.
ये बात हमको नहीं समझ में आई आपके आंसर से कि रिडीम अप फोरक्लोज डाउन ये एक मैगजिम हो गया है, इसका क्या मतलब होता है? आप ये मतलब आपने नहीं बताया.
Sir, redeem means in the shoes of mortgagor, someone else take the right to release property from the mortgagee. Not exactly. I'm just unable to memorize it.
एक मैगजिम है नेमो डॉट क्वाडनन हैबिट, इसका क्या मतलब होता है?
Nemo dot. It's a very famous magazine. I'm not able to recall it right now. Can you explain in English? Then I will able to answer it.
उतने पर तो आ ही जाएगा. फिर इंग्लिश अगर कर देंगे या हिंदी कर देंगे ना, तो फिर उसका मीनिंग ही वो निकल जाएगा, तब तो फिर कुछ रह ही नहीं जाएगा.
Yes, sir.
No one can transfer better title which he himself has.
Yes, sir.
इसका एक्सेप्शन कहाँ है, बता दीजिए.
This has been given in section 41 of Transfer of Property Act, where if section 43 is also section 43 is also an exception to that particular rule. If I am representing something, I am authorized to make transfer on behalf of my principal, means I am agent of something and I am authorized to make that particular transfer, then I am able to transfer that particular property. With it, there is one certain condition, there should be consideration, and feeding the grant of estoppel is another exception which has been given in section 43 of Transfer of Property Act.
एक लायर और एक क्लाइंट के बीच में कम्युनिकेशन, तो वो प्रोटेक्टेड है सेक्शन 126 के अंतर्गत. वो एक्सप्लेन नहीं कर सकता, वो भी नहीं कर सकता, उसका क्लर्क उसका सर्वेंट नहीं कर सकता. लेकिन उसके कुछ एक्सेप्शंस, वो क्या है जिन परिस्थितियों में एक्सप्लेन कर सकता है?
The first thing is in furtherance of legal crime. Since my employment is furtherance of a legal crime, then it is not protected. For example, A comes to the B, who is lawyer, and said that I am going to commit murder and please protect me. That is not protected because it is furtherance of a crime. But if A comes and said that I have committed murder and then protect me, then it is protected under section 126. So in the conclusion, we can say that the furtherance of crime, if I'm going to commit furtherance of crime, that conversation is not protected under 126 of Indian Evidence Act since my employment.
Only one exception?
Pardon, sir?
Only one exception?
No, sir. There is another except. There are two exceptions given to it, but I am able to recall it now. I am not able to recall it, the second one. The first one is this. There are two exceptions given in 126.
ठीक है, एक लास्ट क्वेश्चन है आपसे, हैंड राइटिंग को कैसे प्रूव करेंगे?
So handwriting, section 47 of Indian evidence, there are so many sections, but specifically the section 47 of handwriting, a person who is acquainted with the writing of that particular person, first one, and the second one, handwriting expert. And if you have to handwriting for electronic signature certificate, then the examiner 47A, and if your electronic signature in 67A, then the subscriber. There are three modes in which you can prove the handwriting: the person who is acquainted with the handwriting of that particular person, and the handwriting expert.
Who is acquainted person of handwriting?
Yes, acquainted with the writing of that person means that, for example, I am daily basis in the usual course of business, I receive a letter, then I know what you are writing to me. For example, I am writing to you the letter, there are smooth transaction going on between you and me, daily basis transaction has been between you and me, so I am able to acquaint with your writing, what you have written to me number of time in the usual course of business. Then that particular person said to be, he or she is acquainted with the writing of that particular person in the usual course of business, letter of exchange or anything like that.
Very good, Swetank ji.